What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So I filmed a Tesla Talk Tuesday. I didn't get it out. I didn't get it edited. So Tesla Talk Wednesday yet again. I know it's been a lot of Wednesdays, so we might have to move it. No, we can't move it because it's just the alliteration just doesn't work as well. Anyways, here's the Tesla Talk Tuesday today. Point being, the Cybertruck reveal a day away now. Very excited for that. However, it is at 11 p.m. so I don't know. I'll probably do my thoughts and stuff Friday, hopefully. But yeah, here's Tesla Talk Wednesday, I guess, from Tuesday. So enjoy. Oh, and if you're enjoying the content, please consider liking and subscribing. But here we go. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Tesla Talk Tuesday where, well, the talk of the town right now is that the Cybertruck... No, I'm just kidding. The talk of the town is actually the Mach-E unveil. Yeah, so Ford earlier this week came out with their Ford Mustang inspired like crossover Model Y, I guess, competitor all electric car. So Tesla's got more competitors coming. Elon Musk even said on Twitter, I guess, you know, it's great what Ford is doing. It's always good to push other car companies, keep improving, keep coming out with better platforms, and keep pushing each other because, well, that's gonna, I guess, lead to sustainability and a better planet and all that good stuff. So it is neat to see that there are more and more car companies coming out with products, and it is very cool to see the specs and the price points on all of those products as well. However, I still think Tesla's just crushing it. I mean, they recently did their over-the-air update. People are already seeing those performance improvements, which is very cool. I guess the mid-range Model 3 is now 0 to 60 in sub 5 seconds. So it is nice to have a quick car merging in traffic, just getting up to speed in general. It's very, very nice. So to see that even their like lower tier, cheaper cars are very, very quick is super cool. And well, it's awesome that Tesla just pushed out these over-the-air updates. Now, speaking of Tesla, in the Mach-E, there's a nice big center touchscreen, very similar to what Tesla has. A lot of these companies are going fewer and fewer buttons, and the reason with doing fewer and fewer buttons and putting everything into these touchscreens is that you can push out over-the-air updates. So if you want to, you know, revamp the whole touchscreen, you can always update the car and completely revamp the touchscreen. Tesla has done this multiple times. The touchscreen, as it currently sits, even in my 2014 Model S, is completely different than when I took delivery of the car almost 2 years ago now. So it is very cool that they can just push these updates and everything can be completely different than what it was a few hours earlier. So yeah, it's an interesting shift, but that's kind of the benefit of having these touchscreens instead of just a bunch of buttons all over the dash in order to adjust things. So it is always cool to see more cars coming out. But back to the Cybertruck. The Cybertruck is supposed to be released this Thursday. I believe it's like 8 p.m. Pacific time, which is very unfortunate for us over here on the East Coast because that means 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Pretty late. Definitely going to stay up. I'm very excited for this. I'm very curious to see the stats. Like I've said, I want to know what ranges. I want to know the performance numbers as far as like 0 to 60. I want to know potentially the price starting point, maybe a max price point, which I don't know if they'll give. And then the biggest thing for trucks is going to be tow rating, probably like cargo capacity, how big the truck bed is and how big the interior space is. And then one of the biggest things, Rivian, like I mentioned, they have 4 motors, one controlling each wheel. So I'll be curious to see if Tesla has 2 motors, like the all-wheel drive Model 3s, Model S's, and Model X's currently, or if they go to a plaid powertrain type setup with 3 motors. I believe it's going to be 2 on the front, 1 on the rear is what the plaid powertrain is, or if they're going to do 4 motors and actually have a motor for each wheel. So who knows, but I guess we'll find out Thursday. So very, very excited for that. Now, something very interesting, Faraday Future. You haven't heard much from them recently, but they are also in the electric car space. And their CEO recently came out and said, they have said that the IP developed by Faraday is the most advanced and best electric powertrain in the whole industry. And they're not talking about just startups and companies like Tesla. They're also talking about companies like Mercedes, Porsche, BMW, all of these companies. So I don't know. The car hasn't even come out yet. They're making these claims. Obviously, people, say these things all the time, especially electric car startups. They make claims about range, performance, all of these figures. And until we actually see a car, it sort of means nothing. So it is interesting to hear, but I mean, you got to take all this with a grain of salt. Who knows what it's actually going to look like? Who knows how efficient it's going to be? I know that Tesla does a great job as far as efficiency. If you look at the range that they get out of their cars, the battery sizes, and the drive units or powertrain or whatever you want to call it, I think they are like the most efficient, minimal loss of energy, maximize output of that energy, and convert it into actually moving. So I think as far as that goes, Tesla's crushing it right now. I think they are better than any other company. At least with like one of their models, and I want to say it's one of the Model 3s, maybe the Model 3 long range. But point being, extremely efficient, and I think they've done a fantastic job. It's similar to how you see them pushing out updates where then the cars suddenly have more range, and I think part of that is figuring out software improvements and enhancements in order to make sure that the drivetrain is like truly capturing if it's regenerative braking or actually using the battery's energy in order to make the car go forward. Whatever they're doing it right, because they have fantastic cars. That's all I have to say. Test drive a car, they are fantastic. Not to say there aren't other great companies out there. I haven't been able to test drive anything else, but I know that Teslas drive fantastically. They're a ton of fun, and I highly recommend test driving one. I mean, maybe you want the exhaust note, maybe you want the manual transmission, but I'd still say go test drive a Tesla. They are fun cars. They're a blast. It's just a different power delivery and just a completely different sensation. So if you haven't driven one, definitely drive one. Now, also in the news recently, there's a supercharger in, I think it was at a Wawa in New Jersey that caught on fire. But the fire chief, fire marshal, whatever the top dog there was, I guess they investigated it, and it was not Tesla's fault. So I don't actually know what it was, but they did come out and say that it was no fault of Tesla, so it wasn't something faulty with like the supercharger overheating or anything like that. Point being, not Tesla's fault, and that is a very good thing, because I guess from my understanding, that is the first like supercharger to just like catch on fire. Obviously, we've seen Teslas in the news that have caught on fire, but it's always good when it's not Tesla's fault. More specifically because it doesn't affect the stock. So it's always a plus. Side note, I do hold some Tesla stock. Now, I don't know how many people watching this are familiar with Pininfarina, but it's a very prominent name as far as supercar styling goes. So Ferrari used Pininfarina, and he did a lot of the styling for their cars. Well, they kind of branched off, and recently in the last, I guess, year, maybe 2 years, Pininfarina, Automobili Pininfarina, they're basically starting their own like line of cars that are all electric, and they released one that looks very, very cool. Definitely reminds you of a Ferrari, but apparently they're coming out with a full lineup of cars. There's a picture with that car that they released, as well as 4 others that are under covers. So whether or not it's 5 different cars or maybe 3 or even just 2 different cars, but they're gonna have a line of, I guess, more than 1 electric supercars, which would be pretty sweet. So I'm very excited to see this. As always, interested to see price point. Is it going to compete with something like the Taycan, the top of the line one? Is it going to compete with supercars? Is it going to have like a 200,000 plus price tag? Or are they going to make an everyday type of car as well that's going to compete with, the top of the line Tesla, like the Model S and X, sort of like a Mercedes 550 kind of competitor, Porsche Panamera competitor. But it's always interesting to see these cars. I want these electric cars to keep pushing good designs because, well, unfortunately, the i3, I think that car looks terrible. The Chevy Bolt, it also looks pretty bad. And a lot of these, I just don't know what they're doing. Like, why can't these electric cars just look like normal, good, better looking cars? Like, why do they make them look weird? I never understood that. That's why I was, when Tesla came out with their cars back in 2012, the Model S, it was a very well-styled sedan, and I just never understood why like the i3 didn't do that, and they decided to make it look the way it does, because it looks pretty hideous, honestly. Sorry. If anybody likes it, fine, but I think it looks terrible. Anyways, Pininfarina, super excited. Guy that styled Ferraris is coming out with these all-electric cars, so definitely excited to see that, and can't wait to see, I guess, the future styles, prices, and cars that they actually do release. Now, interestingly enough, Ford has already launched their website. I guess you can reserve a Mach-E for $500. You can start speccing it out and do all of that stuff. I think it is very similarly priced to a Model Y, and they still have the $7,500 federal tax rebate. So that is also kind of a key point right now. I think they're going to offer free charging for 2 years on whatever network they're working with or installing. So these are all things to consider. The question is, how prevalent are these charging networks? Do you actually utilize these charging networks? Do you need to, can you charge at home, for example? Then it's not as important. If you're traveling, are they in easy to get to areas? How quickly do they charge? All of that stuff. And then incentives. If you're buying one of these cars, is it going to hold its value well? How much money off can you get, or tax incentives can you get? And also what your state offers. So that's going to be obviously a state-by-state thing. But it is always cool to see when these new cars come out, you do have access to these $7,500 federal tax incentives. So it'll be interesting to see how many Ford sells of these in the first year. I still think the Tesla Model 3 and the Model Y, when is that coming out? In like a year or so? How those sell going forward. They're fantastic cars. They're selling extremely well. And it'll be interesting to see if there's sort of a drop in sales as more and more of these other cars come out, because right now I just think they're selling more and more of these cars. Teslas are absolutely fantastic, bang for your buck, range, technology, full self-driving technology, and also the cameras, cheaper insurance because we have these cameras watching the car. So people are really hoping that insurance rates are going to come down. There's a ton of factors when you look into purchasing a lot of these new cars. So I'm very excited to see how this all plays out going forward. But it's going to be a quick Tesla Talk Tuesday today. That is going to be it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. Buttons right down there somewhere. Like, subscribe. Yeah, you know how it is. But that is going to be it for today. So until next time, thanks for watching.